Welcome to the meeting point on Delta Television. My name is Michael Ojugo. Today we'll be looking at the topic, Asuu strike. Is federal government playing politics with Nigerian education? You'll recall that recently the Minister of Labor and Employment State, Festus Keyamo son, came up on national television to talk about issue relating to Asuu and the federal government. And since then, Nigerians have been wondering, questioning the rationale behind the position of the federal government as far as Asuu is concerned. The Asuu president has reason to say Keyamo is not in tune with the realities on ground because of the position he canvassed during that national broadcast. And good and well-spirited Nigerians are also asking, if education is not important, why will we be borrowing money to invest in some infrastructure that has no direct bearing on the citizens of Nigeria? The issue, since President Muhammadu Buhari gave a marching order to the Minister of Education, Adamu, to liaise with Asuu, I don't think anything has happened since that marching order was given. These are other issues relating to Asuu strike. The comment by Festus Keyamo are issues we are going to look into in this episode of the meeting point. I have in the studio the Vice Chairman of Asuu Federal University of Science, Federal University of Petroleum Resources, FUPRE, from Delta State. He's a Professor of Computer Science and Intelligence. Join me as I welcome Professor Anold Ojugo to the studio.
Thank you, my brother.
Anold, you were here a few weeks ago,
yes,
to talk about this same issue of Asuu, because yes, I know that your university is part of those who are at home since January. Yes. And it's quite unfortunate that you are still at home. When you came, I thought that within the next few days that the president has given marching order to the Minister of Education that by now you should be in your classroom lecturing and doing what you know how to do best. Well, has anything changed since President Muhammadu Buhari gave the marching order?
Well, the thing there is this. That was some 3 weeks ago, back during the Salah, when President Muhammadu Buhari actually gave an order to the Minister of Education asking that they should intervene. That in fact he gave them 2 weeks. 2 weeks has long elapsed. As I speak to you, nothing has been rolled out. In fact, there are plenty of issues. The last time I came here, I told you that there are 4 basic issues, and I listed them. The first one being the issue of condition of service. The second one being the revitalization funds that were supposed to be sent to the universities as a way to boost the infrastructure generally in the universities. Then the third one being the development of the UTAS. That's implementation of UTAS. UTAS is the platform that the new salary platform that Asuu is presiding. As I speak to you, NITSDA is still holding the report to ascertain and affirm the validity of that particular platform. And then lastly, we were talking about non-proliferation of state universities by government. Since that time, of course, since I came the last time, we also, like I told you before, and I pleaded, and I also commended the NLC, Nigerian Labour Front Congress, for joining on that sympathy strike and that protest. The sympathy protest, in lieu that government will hearken to the cry of just the masses and say, okay, let us come to the table to resolve this impasse and stand up with government. You will recall that I also did note, if you also make an x-ray and a cursory look at all these issues that I mentioned, some of them require money, some don't require money. So, as we stand, some days back, Asuu also further said, okay, no problem, since government is not forthcoming, let us still wait for them. Let us roll over the strike by 4 more weeks. That's where we are. Government has not done anything. Government has not even brought an offer to the table, irrespective of the various committees that it has set. There was the committee of the former Chief of Staff, that is Professor Ibrahim Gambari. Then there was the committee set up to be led by Professor Munzali. The one of Munzali was now also taken over by Professor Nimi Briggs. All the reports that came forward and has been given to government, of course, when those reports come and they give to government, government is now saying that federal government, in the person of President Muhammad Buhari is now saying that he is not the one to sign that to sign the agreement. But it is funny. Who owns the school? Who is the visitor to the school? Like every university that is owned by state, the visitor to the school, the person who owns the school is the state governor. He is the one that runs the university. Now, just like the same vis-a-vis that too, if you look at the federal institutions are run. The visitor of every federal institution is the president. He is the one that appoints in his stead, in local stand, the people who are to stand in for him, the governing council. That is why it is the president who institutes them. Now, if it is, who is my employer? My employer is federal government. Who is at the helm of affairs in federal government? That's the president. And therefore, if I have any squabble, any misgiving or anything, who do I take my plea to? It is still the same federal government. So how can Ngige now be coming to tell us that, oh, it is not the president who is supposed to sign, that it is the political aides that are supposed to sign? I don't understand. Who is going to implement it? Is it the political aide that is going to implement it? So that is just the rhetoric that is going around.
Fortunately, is Asuu willing to, call off the strike if the federal government didn't budge to their complaint? Well,
as it is, of course, you and I are also noticing that federal government is not budging. But Asuu is also not ready to budge. Why? Because you recall that in 2009, these issues were tabled. And in 2009, we came to an understanding. That was what led to the Asuu Federal Government 2009 MOU, Memorandum of Understanding. Now, when they came, there were issues that were tabled. Some of these issues are not new. They've been there since that time. And when we talked about it, we now said, okay, over the time, part of what we now told government for revitalization, for example, if I take that as a key, on revitalization, we told government that you ought to pump in 1.2 trillion. Over the course of that 2009 till now, government has only released 220 billion from that money.
From 2009?
Yes, from 2009. You recall?
Yeah.
We went on strike in 2012. All right, and then that gave birth to that. They now said, okay, you people should come back and that. And after that, we continued. Not until in 2020 when we went on another strike. That strike now, the strike wasn't felt because COVID started. There was a lockdown for COVID, and then the strike started. Thank you. It didn't have so much effect. Yeah. But of course, in December of that 2020, we had a memorandum of agreement. This time around, there was an understanding. Now there's an agreement. Agreement means we have gotten to the stage where we now agree that all the things that we have discussed and that we have tabled in this document contained therein, we will implement. Federal government has not implemented any.
Okay, I can say, okay, because Buhari was not the one that signed in 2009. Actually, since then, they have only released about 200 and something billion.
20?
If they have been releasing like 200 billion every year, that 1.2 trillion would have long been gone. So why are they waiting tonight? But that is the question they would need to answer to what.
Yes.
The major thing is that in 2020 you said Buhari agreed on certain things. Did he release any amount after that agreement?
No, that is what we're waiting for now. Isn't that the money we're talking about? If there was a release of the money, why would Asuu be going on strike? You recall the last time that there was a release of almost about some funds that were released sometime in 2021, okay, when Ngige came out and said, we have given Asuu, we have paid Asuu, as if it is Asuu you're giving to. It's not Asuu that you're giving the money to. Over the course of time, all the monies that they have released is that 220 billion. You recall that last year they released about 32 billion to all the universities when Ngige came out and told the people, the whole persons on media, they told the nation that we have given Asuu. Some monies were allocated for infrastructure, some monies were allocated as end academic allowances. The end academic allowances is the one you give to Asuu. But the other ones, you actually pumped it back into the universities that you people are controlling. You understand? So that is just the point. The truth is this. Government is not ready to do anything as it is. Otherwise, of course, it is no longer news that you hear that our country is now giving a sovereign nation 1.4 trillion, 1.4 billion to buy cars. Isn't it crazy that Asuu has its issues, and then you're giving out money that you're talking about, you're giving out money that you could have used to save education, you're giving it out to another sovereign nation to say you're helping them out to buy official cars? I don't understand. But we have our own teaching problem here. You're telling us that you're telling us that we should understand that there is no money, and yet you're giving out money to another sovereign nation. How do we understand that? How do you?
Niger Republic.
Yes, Niger Republic. I didn't want to mention that, of course.
No, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. People are read it in the video. So what do you make of the interview granted by Festus Keyamo-San over Asuu strike?
Well, the truth is that, just like you said earlier, Mr. Keyamo is not in touch with reality. In fact, Asuu, as of this morning, replied him, and Asuu dared him. Asuu said, look, there are things that we have presented. There are some of the, for issues, if I have an impasse with you, and I say, okay, somebody brings us to the table and say, let us try to marshal out a way forward. Okay? It means that sometimes I need to let go of a particular position, make some compromise so that you meet me halfway. But at the end of the day, we all agree that this is what we have agreed to do. In 2020, Asuu agreed with government that this is all the issues here that we have tabled is what we are going to implement. Asuu is now waiting for federal government to do that. Now, like I said earlier, some of these things don't require money. I've just mentioned 4 things. Condition of service, like we talk about, is federal government has not even given us a position as to say that yes, for your condition of service, this is what we are offering. Don't forget, the last report by Professor Numi Briggs cited a 185% increase in the salary. Government has not said anything. Instead, Adamu made a mention the other day that government is willing to give Asuu 100%. 100% translates to what? Now, I think it was based on that Festus Keyamo came up and said Asuu needs about 1.4 trillion to pay just staff salaries.
Yes.
It's crazy. There are 37 universities and what is called a division of agriculture. There is another university called a division of agriculture that is in Zaria. If you add it to the universities we have in Nigeria, the federal universities, they amount to 37. If you pay the whole monies of all the staff in these universities, it amounts to 239 billion. Now, if you raise that by 100%, it comes to roughly about 550. Now, where did Keyamo get his 1.4 trillion? If you're adding 1.4 trillion to that, what it means is that somehow they probably are wishing to siphon some monies out of it. Remember, the monies you're talking about is paying not just to Asuu. We're talking about 37 universities. The 37 universities caters for both Asuu academic staff, senior non-academic staff, junior non-academic staff, and the academic technologists. These are all persons who work within the university circle. Asuu is saying, even if you make those projections and pay those people, you'll be spending 239 billion as their salaries. Now, for
annually.
Yes. Now, if you now add it, if you now say, okay, let us give them 100% bump, just like federal government has said, it will be tantamount to about 550, just like I've told you. If you add that money, remove it from 1.4 trillion, that's almost about 700,000 that one or two persons are going to pocket.
700 billion.
700 billion that one or two persons are going to pocket. Is it not crazy enough that the last time, that's just like we mentioned before, the defunct accountant general stole 109 billion. And now Festus Keyamo is doing the math. I don't know how it is that he got there, but Asuu is just making a position. Some of the things that we need do not require money. Now, we are talking about staff salaries. One of the things that I mentioned that Asuu is saying that federal government should implement is the issue of UTAS. If you're going to implement UTAS, does that require money? What it means is that Asuu has said, we have developed a platform. Look at it, let it pass through the normal test. Does it require money? Do they require money to do that? Asuu has since passed that software to NITDA. And NITDA has been playing the normal politics of it will pass test, it will not pass test, it has passed test, it has not passed test. Let government come out and say, that's why Asuu is daring Keyamo. Say, tell us what government has done with all the requests. There are 7 points that we have mentioned. About 3 of them does not require money. One is the UTAS. Has government come out to say, yes, this thing that you're talking about, your UTAS, it has not passed test, so it has failed the validity test, so that ASUU can now go back and put its house in order. Secondly, we're talking about proliferation of universities. All you need to do is just put up a law. The last time me and you spoke, we said if most of these people, their children are not going overseas to go and study, of course they will now put an eye back at home to develop the ones they have. That is what ASUU is presiding. Of course, after we finished it, the next day, we also saw a bill.
Yes.
Now, somebody presented that bill. What have they done with that bill? Have they now said, okay, yes, let us look into this, since it is that ASUU is presiding this as a front. Does that require money as well? So what we're saying is, you see that federal government is not fair to itself. And now you're begging, you're doing the last time, yes, this morning, as of this morning, the National Association of the Parents Teachers, NAPTAN, spoke in an interview and said that they cannot be seen to be pitching their tent against ASUU. Why? Because the federal government should come out and say, okay, this is what, of all the things that ASUU has tabled. Because of course, the populace, the Nigerian population, the Nigerian citizens are beginning to see that yes, ASUU, what ASUU is saying, yes, we have made our own case. Let federal government now make their own case. So NAPTAN has told federal government, make a commitment to ASUU and let us see what you're doing before we can now be pitched. We can now pitch in to tell us, okay, please call off strike. How can you be calling off strike? I have told you that these are my issues. You have not even settled them and you're telling me to go back to school.
Because that was what I wanted to ask, because Keyamo has pleaded with the parents to say, please prevail on ASUU to call off this strike because your children are at home. So if the association has come now to say, federal government, come advance your cause, let's see what we can do.
Yes.
I think it's a step in the right direction.
Yes.
Because you can't be asking somebody to say, go and appeal on my behalf, without giving the person the position to stand to make appeal, you understand. So, but the issue you mentioned earlier, the issue of buying vehicle for the Nigeria Republic for 1.14 billion. And I don't know how ASUU feels about it, because if part of this 1.14 billion is given to ASUU, it may be, coming closer to resolving the imbroglio.
Truth be told is that, like I said earlier, Mr. Keyamo is really not in touch with what is happening. Because if he was, he would have known the realities that are on ground. Part of his statement, he said ASUU is holding the government to jugular to say that federal government must go and borrow. Is that what we said? To do that is just simple blackmail. Simple blackmail. You see, the truth is, if you look at World Index today and check countries that are debt-ridden, Nigeria is not even on the list. 10 top countries, world and in Africa, Nigeria is not even on the list. And so, when they mention some of these countries, look at what they borrow the money to do, vis-a-vis what Nigeria is borrowing money to do. Nigeria is borrowing money, and that's why many persons are angry. You have not developed, you have not entered into, you see, a country that borrows money just to squander and spend on frivolities is not looking at its future. Remember, I told you the last time when I came here, education is not an investment. It is not. You see, education is part of the production process. Because you see, if you want people to work in your economy and then boost the economy, you need well-trained hands. And that's what we're having with this brain drain. Of course, the last between 2020 and 2021 December, you saw the massive exodus of Nigerians leaving the country, especially medical personnel. And Ngige had to put out a notice to say that he wanted to stop them. Currently, as we speak, people are moving in troves out of this country for better economies out there, just to go and make ends meet. Why? Because Nigeria is not looking in the right direction. It is also that right direction that UNESCO has continued to posite. That if you want to grow as a nation and stand above going from underdeveloped to a developed economy, to a developing and developed economy, you must look at education and earmark 25% for education. It's just pure and simple. How much has this government voted for education? I dare Asuu is daring Keyamo to come out and tell the populace that, oh, this is what government have done. We care about education. We have voted this amount of money for education. We have pumped this amount of money. Even when it is that we have voted their regular meager 8% of the budget to education, what actually comes out at the end of the day? Knowing fully well that they run a zero budget. And today, they are busy buying cars for people. Let's ask a simple question. If it is that you notice that 109 billion was missing and then you've been able to trace it to the former accountant general, where's the money? What have you done with it? If Asuu is saying this is what it is that we're precising, why can't you just retrieve the money and then say, okay, let that money form a part of what it is that you want to give to Asuu? And then Keyamo is saying, oh, we are asking government to go and borrow. We're not asking them to borrow. We're asking them that if they are serious, they know where the money is.
Is it wrong for government to borrow to fund education when they are borrowing to fund other things?
Well, you see, like what Mr. Keyamo is doing is just sheer blackmail and then getting to sensitize the people wrong negatively. You're saying Asuu is not the only person in the country. There are other sectors. But for clearly, Asuu has been on strike since February. Which other sector of the economy has been on strike for that long? Which means that your priority is not with education. Your priority is clearly looked at as political. Now, let us also tell ourselves some blatant truths. If it is that you want to salvage this situation, okay, you know where the money is. You have been saving money from of course, SS Crude account is there. Recently, we just heard that, of course, you also noticed that the previous administration had well over how much money in the SS Crude account. As we speak, right now, what was the current money that we had? Just a little less than $3 billion. Okay, so what we're saying is that government knows where the money is. Government knows that money is also there. We have facts to show us that those monies are there. We are asking them to simply honor the agreement. Is it because for crying out loud, Keyamo used to be an activist too, and all of a sudden, just because he has changed sides to become a politician, he has entered the other side of the fence. Now he no longer knows what it is that is right for the poor masses, and then he's telling us that we are holding them by the jugular to say that they should bring out these monies. So that's just the truth.
Yeah, I think part of what Asuu is kicking against is proliferation of universities.
Yes.
Both state and national. And we have on good account that the federal government is planning to establish 63 more universities in the country where you cannot fund the ones that are there have already. What is the position of us?
Well, Asuu made a position the last time and said, if it is that for states, if you must, of course, for federal, we already know that the monies are there. But then look around and find out that there is no state that has 2 federal universities. One must be a specialized university. 2 regular federal universities. One must be a specialized university. Like in Delta, you have the Federal University of Petroleum Resources, EFRU, which is a specialized university, and then you have the Federal University at Maritime, Okerenkoko, another specialized university. However, if you look across board, there is no state that has 2 federal institutions. So with the 63 that is presided now, what it simply means is that you want to say somehow domicile 2 or 3 universities in one state, which is unfathomable. All right, you really don't have that money. For state governments, Asuu has presided that if any state government wants to bring up a new university, government should not stop them. However, they should be able to deposit 10 billion with CBN. It's a position that Asuu made. Why? Because you need to be able to pay the salaries of this staff and then pay them what is accrued to them over a period, at the very least, over a period of 5 years. That's what that money is for. Insurance. It's just like setting up a new bank. When you say we want to set up a new bank, you must have a capital base. That's what Asuu is presiding. So if it is that you want to set up a new university, deposit this amount. Federal government, of course, has the money. Again, it comes back to the same thing we're talking about. If Keyamo is saying that they don't have the money, then you want to set up more universities. At least, at the very least, the extant law says that somehow if you want to establish a new university, there must be a take-off grant. Government has never given anything less than 500 million as a take-off grant. Now, if you imagine 63 universities multiplied by 500 as takeoff grant. How much is that? Now, is that
33 billion?
Thank you. Is that close to what?
Billion.
Is that close to what Asuu is asking for? So you see, the truth is this: politics, all these things are just politics and theatrics. Government is shying away from what it ought to do. And the truth is that I feel that Nigerians are up to the task. They know what Asuu has been doing, and Asu's fight really cannot go in vain.
Okay, as a computer professor in computer,
yes,
what was the input to you the computer gurus made in coming up with the UTAS and compared to IPPIS?
All right.
Talking about what Kayamo also canvassed is that the UTAS failed litmus test, and no people have not come to say yes, we have tried it, and this is and even if it didn't really pass the desired standard they are looking at, what effort are you making now to see that it's upgraded to meet the standard that the federal government wants you to have?
Well, the truth is that federal government is, like I said again, Mr. Kayamo is really not in touch with what is happening. Before these platforms came, there was GIFMix. That was what some of us met when we were employed. And then GIFMix, naturally, when you pick up a platform for payments, there are rules and regulations. There are things that you ought to put in. Sometimes you need to put in some parameters in place. GIFMix was okay, working perfectly, paid, except at that point, GIFMix was decentralized to look at one thing, which is autonomy of the universities. And then, of course, when this administration came on board, they decided to implement IPs. Most of us don't even know how IPs came on board. IPs was a platform that the former Minister of Finance, Professor Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, proposed to use for contractors at federal level. And then all of a sudden, somebody just hijacked it, turned it around, and spun it out. And then eventually it was used, it began to be used as a payment platform. Now, when it came on board, we noticed so many things. One of the things we noticed is that, in academics, sometimes you are expected to be on sabbatical. Like now, I can go on sabbatical to another federal university. IPs does not allow you to go on sabbatical. That's some of the things we found out. Now, apart from that, recently, early this year, before the sack of the former Accountant General, of course you were there, even in the last week when he was arraigned in court, you remember some of the things he spewed out, that he was part of the people who sabotaged IPs to make sure they were used as a means to siphon funds. Okay, so if it is that we already know that IPs has failed integrity test, why still to stick to it? Now, when this whole thing started, Asuu now cited that, we have UTAS, okay, the University Transparent and Accountability System, UTAS. Now, Asuu gathered a team. Funny enough, I was not privileged to be one of the members. Okay. Yes, okay, but there were some other persons. Asuu picked persons from the last neck in Calabar, picked persons and said, come and develop a payment platform. And this person sat down, developed a payment platform. Don't forget, when UTAS, what's his name? This NITA boss, Pantami. Okay, Pantami was to collect professorship at Federal University of Technology in Owerri. He told Asuu that at the first test, UTAS failed integrity test. Even at that integrity test, UTAS made 87%. As I speak to you, when they had postulated that, he was to pick up that professorship, he told Asuu that the UTAS had passed its integrity test. Now, what we're saying is, let government come out and tell us the integrity test that it performed on UTAS vis-a-vis IPs. What is the report? Government has not given us that. Have you heard of that report? No, nobody has heard. And federal government cannot come and say, okay, this is the report. Meanwhile, severally we have gone, Asuu have gone to present that platform before NITDA, before Standard Organization of Nigeria, and all government agencies. The first time Asuu presented it and it passed, They said, oh, NITDA was not there. Let NITDA come. Let NITDA came. Then he represented. And then we gave them the software and say, go and run your integrity test. Do you remember when they sent it to them? These things were sent to them way back before the 2020 agreement. As we're speaking, how long does it take to run an integrity test? As we're speaking till now, federal government has not come up with a position to say, yes, UTAS did not pass. They've not even made that report.
The result is within them.
The result is, they are holding the result.
Pass or fail.
Yes,
within them.
But they need to give us that report because, of course, whether you like it or not, they are the ones to implement it. Okay, that's why they are holding the whole thing and telling us. All the while, even when we told them after the 2020 agreement, they kept using IPPIS to pay us. We just kept quiet because we have no choice. But we are telling them, give us the report for if it failed, tell us so that we can go back and then make our modifications and then bring it back to you. But if it is that you have agreed to implement it, you cannot be playing, you cannot be changing the goalpost the way it suits you.
Okay, we'll open up the line so that viewers can make their contribution. It's still on the issue of Asuu strike. It's federal government playing politics with the Nigerian educational system. That is the issue we are discussing. And if you are at home and you are watching right now, you can make contribution on the line numbers you are going to see on your platform: 0812 106 9621. The number again is 0812 106 9621. The other number to call is 0807 843 4277. So those are the numbers if you want to make contribution, ask question or make clarification. Prof, the issue here is Kuyamo said Asuu demanded for over 100% increment, but later at the meeting that was held, I can't remember exactly, you now agree that 100% increment should be made. When you came to this program the last time, you made us understand that Kenya, what are paying Nigerian professors is up to half of what Kenyan professors receive. By the time this adjustment is made, for example, the federal government agreed that 100% increment should be effected. Will it be also be up to what Kenyan professors receive as a professor?
Nope. I told you the last time I came here, when they took a sample and they now discovered that Kenya pays the very least professor in Kenya takes $4,000 home. $4,000. As I speak to you, as of yesterday, you know that Rwanda increased their university staff salaries by 88%. Rwanda, not Nigeria. And yet we clamor that, oh, we are the giant of Africa. Okay? So what we're saying is this. I gave you my salary the last time. I told you my salary is not hidden. My salary is 275,000 naira. That's what I go home with. Okay? That's net. That's what I go home with. Gross is roughly close to about 300, 320, thereabout. At least when they remove tax, remove Asuu dues and other deductions, it comes to 275,000. That's what I go home with. Now, let us say you increase it by, you see, the truth is this, like I told you earlier, the Professor Nimi Briggs report tried to posit that Asuu, the salary of professors should be raised. The salary of staff, academic staff, should be raised by 188%. Federal government came and said, no, we cannot accept that. We will raise it by 100%. That's their own justification. They have their own justification for that, and they know the ramifications.
Asuu accepted that.
No, Asuu has not accepted. Asuu is saying that they are making a position. You see, if it is that you are saying that, oh, this is what it is that you want to pay me, at least myself and you has to agree. It's not by just going out and saying, oh, this is what I want to pay you. It's not a military junta or military regime. Okay, it is a democracy. Come, let us dialogue. So that when we now dialogue and come to a compromise, we can now say, okay, I will shift, you will shift. Okay, now, I now told you, take $4,000 and multiply it. I'm not talking about the parallel market now, which is the black market. I'm talking about the forex market. Dollar is about 498 naira now. Multiply that by 4,000. That's about 1.7 million and some fraction. Now, you are paying an academic staff
Let's take this. Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Your name and location, please.
Yes, this is Mr. Anold.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm coming from Asuu. I just want to contribute as well to what we're discussing.
All right, sir.
It looks so funny when they have a program like this in Nigeria comparing to
Please, sir, turn down the volume of your TV set.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, I think it looks so funny to me and very, very unbelievable. If you have this program of Asuu in Nigeria and the president Buhari himself find it funny to send this money outside this country to Nigerian Republic and underrating our children back home here. It makes no sense for me. And I don't believe any reasonable human being can do this. Which means they did not place value in our education. I think if Asuu need to stand firm on the plan so that they will achieve what they want, because that's the future of this nation. Without education, no nation progressing.
Yeah, correct.
This is what I would need. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Hello? Hello? Please speak up. So, you were trying to analyze the salary structure.
Yes.
So, you mentioned of Rwanda.
Yes, Rwanda has recently made an 88% increase in the salaries of their staff. You see, the truth is this.
Let's take this.
Yes.
Hello? Hello? Please speak up. Okay. We can't hear you, sir. It's too faint.
Yes, it is. So what I'm trying to say is this. The salary, is a reward system. A reward is vis-a-vis whatever input you're making, which is your performance. Okay? Your performance is consequent upon what it is that you will be paid.
Yeah.
Okay? That's the reward system. Now, what it is that Asuu is bringing to the table, besides the fact that most of the departments in the universities are understaffed, most of us are overworked. That is the reason why we requested for the SS workload. The truth is that the SS workload is very, very meager compared to what it is that we take. Go through, you can make a sample. Go through the universities and ask, when was the last time most of the lecturers went on sabbatical? Every lecturer, every senior lecturer and above to professorial cadre is entitled to sabbatical. That is, after every 6 years, by the 7th year, you go on sabbatical. When was the last time most of these professors went on sabbatical? Then you talk about study leave. These are things that we discussed with federal government. Study leave. When was the last time that? What is it called? Research leave. Every lecturer is entitled to research leave. When was the last time we took on these things?
Let's take this. Hello? We lost it.
Okay. Now, the truth is this. When you now talk about the salary, as a professor, do you know that right now as I speak to you, most of us are overworked? Okay? We have mentoring to do, we have lecturing to do, we have administrative duties and all that. And yet when you come to some of these universities, you don't have staff to do the actual work. Okay? However, yes, we are managing, trying to do our best to see that the same quality that it is that the same quality that we're supposed to turn out, we still turn them out. It's just like, before now, a woman could cook a pot of soup with 5,000 naira. But today, it's just like a husband. If you are not seeing the reality of the things outside, you now give your wife the same amount of money to make the same quality of soup that she used to make, even when inflation has climbed almost to double. Do you know that with just this little thing that we have experienced in inflation?
Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, your name and location, please.
I'm calling from Ojugo.
From where?
From Ojugo.
Onitsha. Please speak up. The line is faint.
One thing that I want to contribute is that in Nigeria we are now. We don't want to tell ourselves. It's a very long
Okay.
to tell ourselves. How can in Nigeria they are just get after they are putting money, $1 of profit.
Okay, you may have to call back because the line is not too clear here. It's talking about Nigeria having money and not willing to
pay to release.
So, who do we blame for this?
Well, irrespective of whoever makes money, there are people who make decisions. There are three arms of government. Whose job is it to make laws? Legislative. Whose job is it that when laws are contravened, who executes them? Judiciary. Whose job is it to run the day-to-day of the country? Executive. The executive should take blame. If you cannot do a very good job, then step out, let someone else take the mantle of leadership. That is just the truth. You see, the truth is a lot of things that we do in this country, especially with this imbroglio currently going on, is about the choices we make. Choices are decisions that we have agreed that this is what I want to do, and you go ahead and do them. But something must have informed your choices. That's why we're asking Mr. Keyamo to come out and talk and speak on. If it is that your government, the APC-led government, is sitting on this and making current decisions as it is, don't forget, part of the mantra that they ran on is the fact that that Asuu issues will never take more than a month to resolve. And yet, you have come. How many times have we gone on strike throughout this administration? Put that one aside. We're talking about the current strike we are on right now. Remember, it was a suspended strike. Now, the current strike we are on right now, we have been at home from February 14th, to be precise. We went on strike. And this is just, in a few days, there will be another 14th. And that will be how many months? And nothing is being said. All we are just seeing is just politics. But I suppose that one way or another, government has to be tired. Why? Whether you like it or not, if you come in, nature abhors vacuum. And therefore, when you come in, yes, some persons have said this before. In fact, you also asked me this question earlier, that, it was not their government that signed the agreement. It's okay, that's good. But you're forgetting that you're inheriting what? Assets and liabilities. Can you take all the good things and then credit them to yourself, and then the liabilities, you're pushing them to someone else? That's uncalled for. And so, you have told ourselves that, you ought to resolve this imbroglio. Resolve it.
Okay, sorry, I want to go this way. Yeah, the public have this opinion that is Asuu, that is the professors, the lecturers that help politicians to rig election before now. Could it be that Kama is visiting Asuu?
Well, it is very funny that you're saying that professors are helping them to rig election.
That is the belief.
Yes, I know.
Before now, that
do we know how elections are done?
No,
I'm asking a question.
No, because you play the role of returning officer. You play the role of all the roles that. For example, if there will be a return officer at the state level, at the governorship election level, it's a professor that will be there to say, I'm here to give the final announcement of.
Thank you very much, but you seem to be missing.
Could it be that Kama is visiting Asuu because of the role you have played in previous election in Nigeria?
Well, that is you have it's an opinion, okay? But then let us look at how elections are done. Elections start from the polling unit. At the polling unit, what do you have? Every political party has their own representative, isn't it? And then you also have the populace. Don't forget that when election is done and the results are recorded, whoever is the officer in charge, be it an academic staff, will announce the results there. Now, if the results are not in tandem with what has been done, can it be announced? And if the person announces it, how does it go scot-free with it? When the people who voted knew who they voted for, knew who is supposed to win. And yet you have announced something that is contrary to what it is that they did.
Remember there was a professor, I can't remember the name exactly, that could not even announce a result. Because he was not too sure of the manipulation that they did. You remember that scenario? I can't remember the name of the professor and the particular state.
Okay.
We watched it on television where it became an issue during that period.
Okay. You probably might just be mentioning, so I can't recall the case, but if you give a name, I'll be able to share or elucidate on that matter. However, like I've told you, it is based on the fact that Nigeria has also metamorphosed. It is based on the fact that on these insinuations and innuendos that, academic staff are helping them to rig election, that they now said, okay, let us bring in what? The electronic card readers. My university was privileged to be the ones to conduct the first ever election in Edo State in 2020 where they used card readers. Was that one rigged too? So you see, the truth is this, when issues are where issues are, direct them to where they are. Stop putting blame to say, okay, this is what Asuu has done, and that karma is visiting them. Otherwise, if you know how elections are done, elections start from the polling unit. At the polling unit, are there academic staff? No. What you have there are supervisory agents. No, I also know.
Professors come to rig it. And they begin to mismanage their country.
And again, that's why I'm trying to actually lay this so that you know. You see, my brother, you're a journalist, okay? And then it is part of your job to also observe some of these things as they are going on. I've been privileged to be part of one or two elections, and then that's why I said, do we know how elections are done? It is easy for you to sit in your house and say, oh, we saw academic staff, they were the ones announcing the result. But then it started from somewhere. Every election starts from a polling unit. And then the results of the polling unit are collated at the ward. It is at the ward now that you have academic staff in the form of lecturers.
Hello? 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 We lost it.
It is at the rack, okay, or what they call wards, that you now have academic staff. Don't forget, the results that are brought from the polling units, each...
Hello?
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, clear.
I'm Mrs. Akoto.
Mrs. Akoto.
Mrs. Akoto.
Okay, calling from where?
I'm calling from Asuu.
Go ahead, ma.
What I'm going to say is that I support the Asuu. They should keep on holding the strike.
Thank you very much, ma.
Because this government, we are into. They are doing, we workers, they are doing us bad. Even the judicial research. No good salary. Even when we are paying house rent, our salary don't reach us to pay house rent. We go to eat food, nothing. So you supposed to continue.
Thank you very much, ma. With your support.
Our money they carry to the jail. You supposed to continue the strike.
Amen.
Then we do something for you.
Thank you very much, ma.
Oh, thank you.
You have support from there. That is why you are. So let me ask.
Yes.
Is there any plan, peradventure, the federal government refused to, listen to us? Is there any plan to boycott the next election by the academic staff union?
I hope you also understand this too. It is not a nationwide practice that academic staff are the ones conducting election. It is just that for some reason, Mahmoud at the last election felt that
Jega also used
Jega used a number of professors because he felt that, look, the integrity of staff, integrity of the persons who conduct these elections should be a thing to be watched. So the
question is, will Asuu be part of the next election if this strike continues?
Well, we've seen instances where Asuu has boycotted the election before. This is not the first. Okay? So I cannot speak for Asuu per se. Okay? But Asuu may. But I cannot speak for Asuu. It's an individual thing. If I am asked, will I boycott? Yes, I will. Okay? Yeah. If I am asked, will I boycott? Yes, I will. I may.
Because of the way you feel about
yes.
the whole scenario. It's really, really very pathetic. Aside the issue of Asuu strike, do you see what is your reason of our educational system compared to? We're not looking at the developed world now. Sorry, let's see if this one go through. Hello. Hello.
Good evening.
Please turn down the volume of your TV set.
Hello.
Yeah.
It's calling from Onisha.
Your name, please.
Chidebere calling from Onisha.
Chidebere, okay, continue.
Chidebere.
Yeah. I say, in my opinion, there is that Asuu should continue.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
They should continue.
All right,
Okay.
thank you. Asuu should continue. Till
Yes.
when? Till when? Till federal government answer.
Truth is, Asuu has always had a strike fund that it uses to say, okay, when it is that pending when government wants to resolve this imbroglio, we'll continue to support our various members in our various capacities to see that our members will continue to strive and hold the fort. If federal government is ready, whenever they are ready, we are ready.
So how are you surviving since the strike started?
I was privileged to have spoken to Ari the last time I came here, and then when she asked the same question, I said, well, we support by we survive through goodwill gestures, and then come to think of it, you can also support my ministry by contributing. That was on a lighter note anyways.
Yeah.
But we have our ways. Asuu, like I said, we have strike fund. They make available some little monies for her members so that at least you can do some basic things in your house. At least get food to eat, get one or two support to be able to move from one place to the other. Just basic stuff.
Okay, we're trying to look at the standard of education across African countries.
Yes.
We are not talking about the world now in general because we know that considering the percentage of fund that is allocated in our annual budget, we may not be able to measure up with some countries that are already developed. How would you rate the educational system in Nigeria and some part of African countries?
Well, to start on a very smaller scale, so to speak, we already know that almost our primary education is dead. The secondary education is fast gone too. The only one that is thriving, that seems to be thriving, is what government is hell-bent on also killing. Now, put that aside and ask ourselves, every educational system, for every education, there is always the theoretical aspect and the practical aspect. The practical aspect, sometimes there is a synergy between the universities or the research institutes per se and the industry, so that the students can get a feel of whatever is happening out there, so that when they graduate and go into the economy, they don't find a mismatch. But the truth is that the educational system of Nigeria, as we speak, the lecturers are trying to keep it up. But then we don't get incentives to help us to keep up whatever efforts we're doing. Don't forget, part of what Asuu is proposing now is that if these revitalization funds are dropped in, it will help to boost the practicality and make our students more employable, both within the country and outside the country. Okay? So the truth is, every country has its own teething problems when it comes to education. To begin to compare Nigeria and others, there are too many yardsticks to look at. And therefore, I'd rather not do that to say, okay, what is the current standard? It will not be a fair judgment to look, because there are metrics and indices that we need to put in place. But I can tell you this for certain. My university has been able to produce some level of students who have gone for both national and international events, and we've seen them come at the top. Right now, there is a yearly competition called Eco Marathon. Okay, my university, of course, won it in Nigeria and then won it in Africa, and then appeared the world edition of it held in South Africa. That was 3 years ago. Okay, that was 3 years ago, and then we came out second. Okay, Now, also, there was this national mathematics competition that we had. Please check. We had a student, Mr. Abel. He's from the mathematics department. Okay, that competition held in 2020. Okay, and then my university came out third in Norway. Yes, please also check. All right. So what we're saying is, if you now begin to say, okay, based on these metrics, then we're doing very well, it might also not be correct, because it's also dependent on universities that made themselves available or countries that made themselves available. So what we're saying is, because of the plenty metrics involved as a yardstick for measuring performance, student employability, as well as other things to measure education, okay, you really cannot pen and say,
welcome back. The program is the meeting point, and the topic we are looking at is Asuu strike. Is federal government playing politics with Nigerian education? Our guest has been Professor Anold Ojugo. He's a professor of computer science and intelligence. He's the vice chairman, Asuu, Federal University of Petroleum Resources, Fupre from Delta State.
Thank you.
We are trying to make comparison between Nigerian standard of education and other countries. And we are about talking about Finland, how Finland is able to retain its first-class materials into education.
Yes. So like I was saying back then, Finland, what they just do is that once you make a first class, you're automatically employed in a university. They go from both their primary, secondary, and they pay them very well. They just take first-class materials, put them in secondary schools, take first-class materials, put them in primary schools, take first-class materials and put them in the universities. Now, what it simply means is that these persons also bring out their best. Okay? But then, look at our first-class materials today. Most of them don't even want to lecture.
So I'm going to politics.
Most of them just go into politics. In fact, some of them, before they graduate, they are taken off the shelf by companies who are hunting for jobs. Oil companies, some companies, and then some of them also already have a mindset. But you see, if we begin to place much emphasis on education, how do we do that? You must pay. It's a reward system. You must pay them commensurately. If they look at the fact that they paid education, the educational pay is better than wherever it is that they anticipate to go, why? They will stay back. Okay? Professors globally may not be wealthy, but they are just comfortable. You understand? You earn a salary and you know that, oh, this thing that you have can take care of your basic needs, sponsor you on vacation when you want to. But in Nigeria here, you tell, when was the last time even me as a lecturer went on vacation? You can't even fathom it. How much is vacation? Even as far back as Obudu. here. You can't go. Because by the time you look at the summary of whatever it is that you're going to take your family to pay, and then you get there, spend like 3-4 days, and then get back here, you have spent close to between 150 and 200,000. Between 150 and 200,000, do you know what that could offer me? So, you see, sometimes vacation is also part of the working process. Why do you need vacation? You need to sometimes rest. Just like what I told you. When was the last time most of these lecturers, professors and co went on sabbatical, went on research leave, went on vacation? None. It's been long. And so when they are clamoring for you to pay them for those services, it is justified. And so like we're saying, education needs to be prioritized. That's the truth.
Well, from what you said now, using Finland as an example, it shows that we need to look inward to see how can really most of the teachers we have now at the primary and secondary school level, I don't know, you are into the system. How do you assess them? If a first class material can teach in primary school in Finland, can teach in secondary school in Finland, how many of that category do you have in Nigeria that are into education?
If you have a cousin who made first class, would you ask him to teach in secondary school? Isn't that a big question?
Because they are poorly remunerated.
Yes, they are poorly remunerated.
Like you said, if a professor can, it's quite unfortunate. Does it translate to the reason why this generation of youth are saying education is scam?
Yes. If it is that you spend that amount of time, do that amount of labor, okay, and still continue to read. Don't forget, as a lecturer, it was sacrosanct that I knew that the very moment I entered into lecturing, I must do a master's in my field. I must do a PhD. In fact, lecturership in Nigeria, we say lecturership starts from PhD. Okay? So you knew you were going to do that. Not only that, now the idea is that not only am I reading, okay? And then federal government will begin to say, okay, let us pay you back the money later, or sometimes sponsor meagerly. Now, the federal government has recently just placed an embargo that you are not allowed now to read abroad. Before now, we used to get third fund sponsorship for academic staff development and training, where they allow most lecturers to go abroad and do their PhD and then come back. Now, they now say no, they are now restricting it to local. But that be the case. Put it aside. Now, not only am I expected to go and do a PhD, come back and all that, constantly upgrade myself, you also expect me to publish. Every lecturer has to publish or perish. We use our money. Okay, let me give you an example. To publish in a Q2 journal, for example, I have to pay $520. How do I generate that money alone? That's from my salary. Which means that if it is, don't forget, if we check the going rate now for $525, that's close to about $250,000, $300,000. Can I pay that alone? Now what I need to do is to gather to pick up one or two other colleagues elsewhere. The person, at the end of the day, we might be 5 or 6 in a particular article. Okay? Now, the university also has a metric system that if you are 2 authors, a certain point is awarded. If you're 1 author, 2 authors, a certain point is awarded. If you're more than 2, a certain point is awarded. In other words, at the end of the day, lecturers are in this vicious cycle that does not really motivate. That are not really incentivized. Okay? So what we're saying is, if you give us the right incentives, we will have the right motivation to do what is required to increase the performance, not just of our output, but of the throughput. The output is what you are giving in, the throughput is what the system generally gains.
Don't you think this has also affected our economy? The level of exposure of our lecturers? Because most of the innovations we are seeing today comes from through researches.
Yes.
They come up with innovations that will solve a particular problem.
Yes.
And I keep asking, what are we doing? What are our PhDs? If you go to, let's say for example, now we have good number of people who are pursuing their PhDs. What are the innovations that are coming up with? Which problem are we solving with those researches? Does it mean that we are not breaking new grounds?
We are. In fact, let me give you some examples. You come to Federal University of Petroleum Resources, my university. We have so many research labs. We have so many persons who have gathered themselves into research groups. turning out things. Part of what we did over the course of time from 2015 to now, I can count for you some of the projects we've done. One of the projects we've done is to turn this waste motor oil. You know, when you remove the
what we call condemned oil.
Yes, condemned oil that you remove from your car. We turn it back into diesel-like fuel in my school. We did a research where we were able to do that. Part of what we also did, the research group in my school, is that we have what we call eco-digester. All right? It uses waste, manure, waste from cow dungs and all that to generate electricity. Okay? Now, we have also have a research group in my school where what we did was able to develop just a mechanism as small as this. All you need to do is just fit it in the pipeline, and then when there is pipeline vandalism, it can signal. It can signal you. We use embedded systems, okay, to do that. It can signal you to tell you where exactly at the point on the pipeline that is being vandalized, and then you can have a quick response of people. When the vice president came to our university, 2017 and 2018 respectively, when they had this science fair, we showcased some of these things. In fact, every year there is a national exhibition where universities go and showcase what it is that they can do. What has government done with it? You see, the truth is, until we turn from a manufacturing economy and production economy, until we turn from a consumer nation to a manufacturing nation, we cannot see the headway. And where do you do these consumers? The easiest place to have, where do we do this manufacturing? The easiest place to have brains that will manufacture and produce is at the university where research is done. They give you day-to-day and on-the-spot cutting-edge research. Okay? Some of them are in prototypes and models. All you now need to do is just open up industries where these things can, like recently we had this local content board in Bayelsa where we went to make a presentation of how to clean up the oil spill, okay, along the coastlines. These are things that we are doing in my university. In my university today, we have also been able to have a modular refinery where we refine oil, where we refine crude.
You made us to understand that there's one invention your university did, the eco digester.
Yes.
Can you supply electricity to your university through that means?
You see, first and foremost, you know, when you build prototypes, working prototypes, they are usually in small scale. Okay? What we expect is that when we make a presentation, government will ask questions and say, okay, how do we there's a multiplier effect and a multiplex effect, which is how do we expand this project and the scope to generate this XYZ electricity needed to power XYZ place. And then we'll do that. Part of the researches we do, because the funds are limited, okay, is limited within the scope of our university. And so when you want to expand the scope to cater for other parameters, okay, other parameters now being what buildings is it going to take, what number of persons is it going to serve, and that and other parameters. Then we begin to look at it and then expand, multiplier effect comes in. But don't also forget, some of these researches we do, we also have an issue, which is the issue of patenting. It is whoever comes out first with an idea that should have the patent. Okay? Because when you don't bring a patent, there are usually royalties and ORM that are supposed to go with some of this research. So that's why sometimes we collaborate with some agencies like the local content board. We want to thank them in that light, that they have been very, very supportive. Then we have Shell and ExxonMobil too have been to our universities and also giving us labs because of our collaboration with them. They come with targeted solutions. They tell us, okay, we want you to research in this area and give us solution on this particular thing, and we do that too. We've been researching with most of them, and the solutions have been wonderful.
Okay, the major challenge is the fund to,
it's always fun.
Escalate the
it's always fun.
Of such innovations.
Yes.
So our universities are really churning out with
truthfully
ideas that will help provide solution to our country.
Yes.
Okay. I think for want of time, we may have to look at that aspect again.
It's okay.
The innovations in our universities, how we can promote them and ensure that the needed attention is given.
Amen.
So finally, what is your take between federal government and Asuu? What do you want them to do at the end of it? Because our children are at home, they are not going to school.
Well, thank you, my brother Mike. The truth is this: there's no short and long way to say it. We just want to ask federal government to at least have the decency to implement the things that they have agreed upon. We are asking them to go back to the agreement of December 2020 and simply implement all the things that were agreed there. And then, I tell you today, if government implements that, Asuu will go back to school. But then, I keep saying this. You see, part of negotiation and part of the fact that Asuu is now open to the fact that you are willing to play your part is, suppose government comes in today and says, okay, out of the 1 trillion that is remaining, okay, I'm not talking about salaries first, out of the 1 trillion that is remaining, let us give you 200 billion, okay? Let us give you 200 billion as revitalization. You're not giving it to Asuu. You're giving it back to the people you employed as council members, okay, so that they can put it in the universities that are managed by the people you appointed as vice chancellors and CEOs. Fine, they do that. Now, for salaries, they now say, okay, let us bring out the 239 billion, okay, to take care of the staff salaries. Let us push that out. And they push that out. And they say, okay, sorry, this thing, that UTAS, sorry, UTAS didn't pass as we expected. Let us use IPPIS to pay it. But we're sure that in the next 2 weeks, UTAS, when you make all the corrections that is required and UTAS passes, why not? We will implement UTAS for you. We're sure we're going to do that. And we're very sorry for all the things that we've done before, but I'm also sure that you two are also very sorry for keeping our children at home. But please let us come halfway, and I'll meet you halfway so that we can see how we can resolve this impasse. With those two, they have done. And then they'll say, okay, yes, that bill that was sent to the National Assembly on the proliferation of universities, we'll look into it. Remember, what you have just done now is only 2 out of the 4 things I have mentioned, isn't it? It means you've come halfway. Asuu will also come halfway.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
The most important is the federal government meet Asuu halfway, and Asuu will be willing to call off the strike. I want to thank you, Professor Anold Ojugo, for
thank you very much.
This program. My name is Michael Ekogo. Join us same time tomorrow.